failed presidential candidate Tom "Liar" Steyer is at it again. Remember this billionaire clown who bought his way into the 2020 presidential race, then had to drop out because his poll numbers were so abysmal? Yeah, well, Tom has been running ads on TV lately telling us that because California is in a supposed drought that has lasted, 6 months, a year, 2 years, that this is some shocking anomaly, some wild aberration that was caused by us humans. We did it with our cars, with CO2. Complete and total nonsense. But let's watch this thing.
Millions of Californians breathe levels of pollution that can put their health at risk.
It's not 1970 anymore. There was a little invention called the catalytic converter, which removes around 98% of pollutants. So, health risk? Men in California live longer than men in any other state.
100% of California is now in a drought. Farmers in the state looking for a lifeline.
Okay, first of all, what defines a drought is an arbitrary measurement and is also affected by various factors other than weather. For example, over the last 30 years, California's population has increased 67%. And so there's more and more demand for water. Can't blame the weather on that. Also, the state of California has built no new dams for farms and cities since 1959. Can't blame the weather on that either. Also, 80% of water use in California is for agricultural. And many years ago, the state of California drew new lines in the sand by granting new water rights to farmers to start growing stuff like water-hungry almonds and pistachios. That was poor government planning. Again, can't blame the weather on that. Also, the state of California refuses to build desalination plants, like they have in the Middle East.
Life-threatening triple-digit temperatures are gripping much of the West.
A summer of flames and heartbreak, with fall ushering no end in sight.
A summer of flames and heartbreak. And what is causing these fires? Largely PG&E power lines and lack of maintenance and cutting corners. 1,500 fires in the last 6 years. But Tom Steyer wants you to believe that it's climate change. It's your fossil-fueled car that's causing drought and fire and heartbreak. And notice how he's browbeating you with these sad faces. And with this last face, notice that it's a Native American, a person of color, because climate change is, of course, racist. Tom Steyer plagiarized this old commercial from the 70s of this crying Indian who's sad because everyone is littering. This is one of the most insidious lies that these desperate climate activists are using, is to say that climate change is racist. This is a race thing. Yeah, meanwhile, you're paying $6.25 a gallon for gas, and people of color are suffering the most because Joe Biden declared war on fossil fuels when he took office. But if Tom Steyer sounds his dog whistle and turns climate change into a race thing, we all lose our minds and will all gladly walk off a cliff. Fossil fuels are the lifeblood of our civilization, our economy, and geopolitical stability, which some people are just starting to learn this right now as the West is in a proxy war with Russia. They should have learned this from the Gulf War, but memories fade apparently. But so we depend on fossil fuels, but if coming out of the little ice age is racist, then I'm all in. I'll pay $6, $7, $8 a gallon. This is to fight racism. Do people believe this nonsense? Yeah, there we go. Climate commitment. It's climate change. Well, here's what Tom Steyer failed to mention. Whoa, what's this? You mean to tell me there's a study that shows that droughts in California are normal? There was a drought that lasted 240 years. Another one 50 years later lasted about 180 years. Even Lewis and Clark wrote about seeing great fires when they explored in the early 1800s what would become California. And yet we have this arbitrary drought that has lasted, 1 or 2 years? And according to Tom Steyer, it's the end of the world as we know it. Paid for by NexGen Climate America. Yeah, this is one guy, Tom Steyer, spewing one-sided, cherry-picked propaganda. Why doesn't Tom show people this study? Why doesn't Tom show people this graphic demonstration of how little CO2 humans have added to the total atmosphere over the last 150 years? 1.4 parts out of 10,000. Why doesn't Tom show Tim Ball's climate reconstruction? Because Tom is anti-science. He's anti-scientific method. The debate is over and the science is settled, and anyone who disagrees is a conspiracy theorist. Like Aristotle claiming that the earth is round. He must be silenced.